Dear Diary, today was a pretty average day. Was a little foggy out. Work was just alright. Oh yeah. And today, I won the GMTK Game Jam. What? Once a year, there's a game development competition hosted by the YouTube channel Game Maker's Toolkit. Literally tens of thousands of people get together and make thousands of games around a theme over about 4 days. This is actually going to be my 7th year participating. The best I've ranked so far was in 2023 with You Picked the Wrong Castle, which got 194th in enjoyment. My goal this year is simple: break into the top 100. Now, you may have noticed that 2018 was missing from the clips I just showed. That's because we don't talk about 2018. Now, the theme this year was loop, and I really struggled with that. Not because I didn't have ideas, I had a lot of ideas. The issue was I couldn't use any of them. My big thing is that almost all of my games take place in the same interconnected universe. To prevent pure anarchy, I have a list of writing rules. Literally one of the first ones is no time travel. And nearly all of my favorite ideas revolved around that in some way, or just were things I couldn't fit into the narrative properly. Plus, I think I've already exhausted my It's an in-universe media property on my boy Bogart the Frog. That being said, I still had some funny ideas. I thought about doing a racing game where you have to get your car over a loop, and to get enough speed you just keep adding boosters to the car so you either do the loop, hit orbit, or just completely crash out. I thought of those cartoons where the background just keeps on looping and repeating as you run through the scene. I thought of a story-based game where you'd be a spy and it's all about being in the loop. I thought of making a game where every single piece of art is one of those animated images. I'm not sure if it's GIF or GIF, so I'm just going to call it an IF and make everyone mad. I did get really hooked on a game where you'd have to platform through a world, and each loop the season would change to unlock something new. But again, I just couldn't think of how to get it into the story properly. I ended up praying, and a little later got hit with an idea for a farm simulator where your past actions come back to help you or hurt you in the present. Plus, technically this isn't time travel since we're not altering the past, which is the second interpretation of the theme. Loophole! Such a bad joke. After a little bit of back and forth, I ended up sending it on the farm game.
Brother, may I have some oats?
Now, very quickly I realized I don't know a thing about farming, but I really don't have time to research it, so I'm just gonna wing it. I opened up my template project, which immediately errored since I haven't done a game jam in a bit. Oh boy, this is gonna be a rough one. So after fixing that, I started with a guy who can move all around. Then I made him a little peasant. I made him half the size I normally do, and gave him the ability to collect wood. Since, what else do they do at farms? Now, the key part of this game is being able to have your past actions replayed. That means I have to save data, a lot of data. Each frame, a ton of things are happening, and I just can't save all of that info since that would be too much. Position, rotation, mouse position, if input is detected, emotional state, relationship status, and some other stuff I'm sure is really important too. So to cut down on data overhead, I made it so values are only saved when they actually change, and in the case of the mouse position, when input is detected. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who am I kidding? I don't have any female viewers. I've somehow hit that coveted 100% male viewership. Alright boys, this is what we call over-engineering, which is nerd speak for I just made something way more complicated than it needs to be and wasted a bunch of time I don't have. Now, even with this super overcomplicated system, I'm still generating a lot of data per frame. So to limit the damage, I created a timer to cap how much data could actually be generated. From personal experience, people only really play game jam games for like 5-10 minutes tops. So I made the days extremely short to make sure the player could get many days in. At first, they were only 10 seconds long, but I later changed it to 25. You know what's funnier than 24?
Let me hear it.
25. With all of the data saved, I just had to replay it on a new character. Very quickly, things started to get out of hand as you amassed a small army of your past lives. I also added a summary of what happened each day to show the progress that had been made. Now, collecting resources is fun, but what's fun without a little bit of danger? So I added in a goblin to hunt down the player. The goblin hunts both you and your shadows. Unlike the player, the goblins aren't stuck in a loop, so I actually had to give them some AI to function. That way, if the player does something different, the goblin's not stuck in the same routine and can actually make decisions for themselves. I did mess up his speed a little bit. Now, running isn't fun unless it's a horror game. So I added an archer you could use to fight the goblins and Dang it, I just made another top-down shooter. If you're new to this channel, then about 50% of my games are top-down shooters. At least this one is unique with legally distinct time travel. At about this point, my girlfriend played the game, and I noticed she was having trouble telling which character she actually was. Now, readability is fairly important, so I made all of the shadows, you guessed it, blue for some reason. With that fix, I called it a night. Right now, I have a nice little prototype together, so now it's time to expand. I've been drifting away from the farm theme, and it's slowly becoming a survival defense sort of game, which I think is really cool. To drive home that point, I enabled friendly fire. Now, you have to be super careful where you aim, otherwise you might destroy your past. I added in some interaction text so you can actually tell what to do. I also put together an actual map to play on. I created more types of ore to discover. You have rock, gold, and rock but worth more. To collect other resources, I created more classes like the miner, and that's kinda it. I also made it so only goblins drop gold, so you have to actually engage with the game's combat system. At this point, the hero lineup was looking a little slim, so I created an assassin with a knife and high speed. I did run into an issue where he would just, self-exit instead of attacking, and it turns out he was just hitting himself with the weapon. Now, goblins are a bit stupid right now and can't find the player, so I tried to get the pathfinding working, and it was pretty rough. I did unlock fidget spinner mode, so enjoy that blast from the past. I then got the rest of the heroes in. You have your classic knight, miner, and, knight with axe. Now, I almost ruined the game here. I had it set so if a shadow was taken out, then it was removed from the game entirely, and you were effectively down a man. This made it way more about defending your past. Thankfully, I hopped on a call with my friend Jared, and he set me straight. Right now, when a character dies, they just get deleted from the game. I might keep them going, because there's other things I could do too, so... I removed the one life rule, and that made the game way more fun. Friendly reminder of the importance of playtesting. So, with more direction, I began to push forward. I began working on the tutorial. I spent probably way too long adding animations to make it feel extremely polished. My personal favorite detail is how the more days you spend in the tutorial, the more clones you can see running around in the background of this one menu. This all ties back into what I was saying earlier. Because people only play Game Jam games for so long, you really have to make sure the beginning of it is very well polished. It's the little touches like that I think are not only really fun, but really elevate this game. I worked on that until I called it quits for the night, because trust me, it still needed some work. When I woke up, I continued to grind away on the tutorial. I added an additional loop to show when the goblins would attack. This helped with readability plus doubled down on the theme. From there, I worked on the actual game map itself. I didn't have a lot of time for it, so I made this little island map. Going to the right leads to more danger, and going up leads to more resources. I've noticed from watching people play that they never seem to go up that way, so consider that insider knowledge. There still wasn't a way to actually win the game at this point, so I created a goblin tower for you to go out and destroy. This effectively made it an RTS, or a real-time strategy game, but you controlled all of the units, which I think is a really unique idea. It was sometimes confusing how you lost, so I added a super intense game over animation that explains what happened and who got the last hit on you. I then reused that animation for the victory screen. At this point, the game was feeling great. It was especially fun when you rolled up on the goblins with an entire army of your past lives. That's the moment I knew for sure I had something great on my hands. The game was technically feature complete, however, it was missing sound effects and music, but I had to submit it with 48 hours remaining. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why? You see, my friends and I wanted to make a game together for this competition, but they were only available for the last 48 hours. Now, I'm not someone to back down from a challenge, so I took those first 48 hours and made a completely different game. So I need to get started on that second game. Stuck till Sunday, there we go.
This man has been named Tomas.
I literally have like 3 seconds worth of stuff. Do you want to see?
The inner workings of my mind is in a
or an enigma.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
After we finished working that evening, I turned back to the first game and began to work on the sound effects and music. There was a small issue where I am a worse musician than I am an artist. Thankfully, I've been hoarding assets from Humble Bundle, hashtag not sponsored. So I was able to find some good sounds and music that really gave the game life. Once that was in, I added in a secret ending for winning the game. I got my final build submitted, then left it alone to focus completely on the second project.
Put some wings on that sucker.
Yeah, did you say we were making a horror game now?
Oh, we're down to an 8-hour working day.
That's definitely one way to look at it.
I don't know if I want to look at it like that. After a very long 48 hours, the competition ended and the voting period began. Then, something strange happened. Alright everyone, what's going on? I just got the email that the results are in from the GMTK Game Jam. So let's see what Shadows of the Past brought me. What? I did it! I did it! That's awesome! Oh, oh, praise God. Oh, thank you, God. That is amazing. Oh, top 3. I don't believe it. I'm just at a loss for words. That is amazing. Creativity was up there as well. I don't think a lot of people would have arrived at a game exactly like this. I think this was a unique combination of my limitations that led me to here, so I'm very happy with that. To the moon on this one. Artwork, yeah, that's always going to be my Achilles heel on these sort of things. I am not an artist, not how I'm wired, but it doesn't matter. Oh, that is fantastic right there. That just made my whole week, possibly my whole month. Wow. Now, I didn't make the Mark's favorite video, unfortunately. I'm not even 100% sure he played my game. In the video, he showed this other game where you constantly had to hunt your own past. Basically the same chaotic element from my game, but instead of trying to avoid hitting yourself, that's the entire point. It also had way better style, art, music, gameplay, and character. It even used a similar shake character instead of doing actual animation technique. I'm not mad, I'm just mad. In all seriousness, there are some words of divinely inspired wisdom. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. So, I'm going to do the mature thing and just let this go. Besides, this wasn't really about making it into a video. That wasn't my goal. My goal was top 100, and I blew that out of the water. I made it to the top 100. I made it to the top 10. I made it to the top 5. I made an incredible game. I had a ton of fun doing it. I learned a lot as a game developer. That's a win in my book. Besides, my game has a lot of room left to grow. More characters, more maps, new objectives. There's so much that could be done with it. But I'm not going to be the one to do it for now. That's because my friends and I are working on a commercial game called The Drunk Thief, which is based off our GMTK Game Jam entry from 2020. I simply don't have time for another side project. That being said, I'll keep this game in my back pocket to revisit one day. But until then, I have to get back to working on Drunk Thief. I do have one more video planned for this competition. I kind of vlogged myself doing both of these games, and I think the results speak for themselves. So, subscribe to be notified of when that comes out. I mentioned a little bit earlier that my friends and I made a second game for the competition using those last 48 hours. My video on that game is actually already out and should be linked on screen if you'd like to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.